welcome to Selena Bamford's Assignment 3.1 Informal Assessment Presentation. Informal assessments can take as many forms as there are teaching styles, and the assessments can be casual or very highly structured. As an educator, it is important to clearly define what it is that you are assessing and how you want to store and possibly share that information. I found a lot of my assessment styles mesh together, so I'm going to go over a few of them briefly. The first informal assessment I'd like to speak about is an anecdotal record, or a brief written record of student behavior at one time. Each student has a clipboard containing cold probes or learning targets, preference assessments, information sheets, and a notes section where any staff member in my classroom can jot down notes about specific changes in behaviors, accidents, etc. Here's where some of my assessments start to mesh together. The second assessment I'd like to talk about is a running record, or observing a sequence of events over time. Some of my kiddos have positive behavior support plans in place, and for that I need to collect very specific behavior data. Here's what I use each day as a running record for each student who has a positive behavior support plan in place. This particular student has a goal in place that has her following directions: staying on task, a safe body, that means no self-injurious behaviors, remaining in her assigned area, not eloping, and using respectful words in the classroom. I have each portion of our day broken down into these 10 slots here, and I do this every day that we are together in school, and they get accumulated and of course averaged out and placed into her support plan quarterly. As far as meshing within that running record, you're going to see a rating scale which contains a list of descriptors for a set of behaviors. Down here, you'll see my rating scale. My rating scale is super easy. Anyone in my classroom can take this data as well. If at arrival this particular student followed directions and met expectations and did not need any prompting or reminding, we would write a number 2 here and follow directions for arrival, and so on and so forth throughout our day. The fourth informal assessment I wanted to discuss was a checklist. I use checklists in my classroom. Here's what we call a weekly probe sheet. Listed there 1 through 10 would be the student's learning targets. And what I'm doing here is collecting a list of behaviors, identifying a child's skills or knowledge. So each morning I sit down individually with my students and go through what we call our cold probes and use this probe sheet. Can the child say this, do this, or identify this letter, number, motor imitation, echoic, and so forth? Either a yes or a no. You'll see the Y's and the N's here. And each day, did this child attend? Was she able to, let's say, touch her nose? Here's a brief video of a probe session so you can see more what it looks like. But every morning we would sit down and it's either a Y or an N, a yes or a no. And mastery is when students get 3 yeses in a row. Let's see a little bit of a probe session. Okay. So in conclusion, informal assessments occur often throughout our days while teaching. Finding one place to store it all can be challenging. Right now I'm using clipboards, and in the past I have purposely steered clear of using technology for data collections while my students are present, because technology is of such high value to them. Any phone or classroom iPad can be used to access digital forms and checklists and assessments, but a lot of us aren't very willing to pull out the technology for fear it might get broken or be used in an improper manner. However, I did want to show going forward, some ways that I would like to integrate some more technology into my assessments. So here's a Google form that I have started. I'm excited to kind of put into place, but it's still a work in progress, let's say. bump out my sides here. So in this section, I would type in student name or initials. Oh, of course I did, sorry. All right. And then the person who entered the data, of course. But then I can go to a goal area and I can say, ooh, we're going to work on math today. And this student, we have to put in our date, of course, the objectives that we're working on, the number of questions correct, and whatnot. What I love about this, though, is that I can go ahead and turn it into a graph or have it, I could turn it into a graph or a chart quite easily. Google Forms is still a little new to me. I used them for our preference assessments last year, and it worked out really well, and I'm hoping that I can use this more going forward. Another option for ed technology when it comes to my informal assessments is, of course, some more Google Forms. Here is a Google form where I took my program data and actually put it in here, a check mark, yes, no. Did the child identify these color blue, yes or no? I really like that just because it puts it nicely, also digitally, but I'm still a little nervous about leaving the old pen and paper aside, hopefully in the future. So in conclusion, I am hoping that I can achieve some sort of confidence in digital data collection going forward, because I'll tell you what, my clipboards are getting pretty heavy. Thank you. Have a great day.